I had a 2-month period after he knew that conversation happened. And then I'm in meetings with him and he's very, very hostile. He's sending me really dirty looks. I also had to work out my notice period. That was very, very strange.
The world is obsessed with fast-track success. It's easy to think that people become successful overnight. But let's face it, more often than not, what we see on social media is total BS. I'm here to look past the perception of perfect success and focus on life's detours, perceived mistakes, and even wrong choices, and understand the real road traveled up the career ladder. After all, we're all effing up. Toni Dada is the founder of Enterscale, a growth and innovation studio that supports founders with strategy and growth execution. Toni is a data enthusiast and commercial leader with diverse experience. She started her career in management consulting and moved into shaping commercial strategies for brands in finance, retail, technology, media, and telecom. Her expertise has led her to support founders iterating toward product market fit and work with marketing and product teams at scale-ups such as Flutterwave, Kuda, and Wicrypt. Toni holds a bachelor's in marketing from Babcock University and a master's in marketing and strategy from Warwick Business School. She is also a PRINCE2 practitioner and a Mixpanel implementation consultant. In addition to her professional pursuits, Toni is passionate about supporting NGOs, particularly those focused on empowering and educating African girls.
Toni, it's so great to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for your willingness to share your story.
Thank you for inviting me, Deanne.
Tell me a little bit about Enterscale.
Enterscale is a 3-year-old boutique consulting firm. We work with startups and scale-ups. We work with founders, marketers, product managers, pretty much anyone who is looking to build, launch, scale a product. We help them with growth, product, as well as customer experience.
Oh my gosh, awesome. And you're the founder, and do you serve as the CEO? Is there a corporate structure such as that, or?
So yes, I'm the founder, but I'm also very operational. So most of the time I'm working directly with CEOs, or heads of growth.
Let's go back in time a little bit.
Okay.
What was growing up like, particularly as you were a teenager budding into adulthood? Did you have a vision for your future?
That's a really interesting question. My dad was in advertising. So he was a pharmacist by training, but ended up doing advertising all of his life. And my mom was a librarian. So they lived very different lives. My dad was very artsy, creative, and my mom was all about order and structure. And I think growing up, it allowed me to enjoy both. So even when I was picking a career, I think I'd wanted to be everything: a pilot, an architect, an engineer. Eventually, I studied marketing, and it was what my dad did. It felt like I would have the creative as well as the opportunity to be organized.
Did you see yourself going on to higher education, or?
Oh, yes. So my mom has a master's degree. My dad had a BSc. My grandfather was a math professor. So I come from a long line of, I think in my mom's family, there are 4 professors, all of medicine.
Wow.
If anything, I'm probably the least educated.
Where did you grow up?
Oh, so I grew up mostly in Lagos, but we traveled quite often. My mom was like I said, she was a librarian with the Institute of International Affairs, and she spent some time at the British Council. So we did move around a fair bit, but the location was primarily in Lagos.
You ended up in university in Nigeria. Why did you select where you went to school? How did you end up there?
I thought I was going to be an architect and go to school in the US. And I was very, very naughty teenager, I'd say. I said I had 2 worlds. I had my dad who was really crazy, and then my mom was very organized. I had done really well at my SATs. I'd gotten admitted into school, and I went wild for a short while. So I went to a Christian university. My parents decided at the time that they were too nervous that I would leave Nigeria. So they went, you had to stay in school in Nigeria, and you couldn't go to just any university. You had to go to a strict one. So a Christian university, we had no makeup, no earrings. It was interesting.
I think you used the word naughty. You were a naughty teenager.
Generally, I think I always got good grades, but I was prone to trying things. So I'd want to drive out at night, go to the clubs, have a drink. And as a teen, so I wanted to break rules. I just wanted to see how I could push things. And again, like I said, my mom was very, 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 very strict.
The more strict she is, the more you want to push back.
Exactly. But now I look back, I do appreciate the balance, because where dad will be more understanding, I appreciate that my mom would always remind me to have good manners and don't push things too much. Know when to stop. For me, it was just the easy things. It was just cutting class to go buy food. It was simple things. It was nothing major.
Okay. So you end up at university. What struggles did you have there?
I struggled with the rules from day one. I said we weren't allowed to wear earrings. So I'd wear the tiniest earrings. Like, I know we weren't allowed. I just wanted to have that. I struggled with having to live under very strict studying marketing. I thought it would be a walk in the park. So my first 2 years of uni, partying, breaking out of school to party rather. I remember finally actually checking my report card and feeling like a disgrace. You probably would hear me refer to my father a lot in the conversation. And I said, look, I want to drop out the school. I would like to start something that I want to do. And he said to me, why? You're feeling marketing? Really, Toni? Why? And I think that just triggered something in me, that he's like, why would you admit to failing something? Why would you want to leave something halfway? Like, why? And it was a real turnaround moment. And I ended up having a 4.805. That was the minimum GPA I had every semester till I graduated. I just decided, quit cutting classes, go to class, study, listen, pay attention.
From your depiction here, that your dad, instead of taking the road of coming down hard on you and lecturing you, that he just shared, like, this is confusing to me. You have an option in life and you're not taking it. Help me understand. And it's like the anger versus disappointment route that parents can take. And he chose to take the disappointment route. And it sounded like it allowed you to be like, whoa, let me get my head on straight.
He generally chose that. He went with that subtle, why would you want to disappoint? It was never anger. It was, you should be responsible. Like, why would you pick the easy route?
Very strategic of him.
Extremely. It was mind games.
You had a wake-up call of sorts and turned your focus, and you got serious in the latter part of university. What was it like then to hit the job market? What was post-university like?
So I was quite fortunate when I finished uni. I think the very next month, I was constantly getting the Tuesday Guardian. So that's where they posted all the jobs in Nigeria, and scouring. Within a month, actually, I got this job in HR. It was literally just recruitment administration. I was always keen to work. Always keen.
Interesting. It's almost like
this is probably culturally different. That coming of age, when you start to work, that independence, like in Nigeria, until you get to that point, you really are just a kid. Now, if you've taken anything from the couple of minutes we've been talking, I don't like rules. I'm a bit of a rebel. So that needing work, like I was on it. From the day I dropped my pen in uni, I just wanted to not be confined by any rules. There's this thing we call, it's a 1 year compulsory, you serve the nation in Nigeria. So you go off to another state for a couple of weeks, and then you're posted to just generally contribute. So if you work in an organization, you're pretty much working for nothing. It's like your give back to the success of businesses. So I was there for that year, the year before, and that year.
What took you to Accenture?
In my final year in uni, I went partying one night, and I'm
partying gonna pay off. I can feel it.
At some point, it has to pay off. Come on. So I went partying this evening, and there was this young gentleman, and he spoke so articulately, like everything was so structured. I was gobsmacked, and I had to ask, I was like, what do you do? This is 2006. So consulting isn't really big. it's Nigeria. I was studying marketing, and he says, "Oh, I'm a consultant." I'm like, "Well, what's a consultant?" He says, "Oh, we help businesses make decisions." I'm like, "Oh, is that why you sound like that?" And and he goes on to tell me about Accenture. And I remember saying to my friend at the time that, "Don't worry, I'm going to work there. That's where I'm going to work. I'm just going to figure it out." So I wanted to work there real bad. I felt like if I went through that system, I would be more organized in the way I communicated things that I wanted to. I thought consulting gives you many frameworks to pass across your messages, key points, etc., and gives you opportunities to influence. I was really excited about that. Yeah.
Once in the role, what were the surprises around the corner?
That it wasn't all glamorous. That I think the biggest surprise was the hours.
Yeah.
The hours of travel. I didn't see that coming. I like to travel, so the travel was while it was good. But yeah, the hours were the most surprising thing. We would work. Sometimes we have like really tight deadlines, and you're working till 5 in the morning. You shower, you're back in the office at 6. It's literally, you sleep in the car.
You spent a short amount of time there. A year and a half, it looks like. What made you leave?
2 things. I think the first thing was within the first year, I got promoted. I got the opportunity to work on really amazing projects. But then the cycle of the new interns or the new intakes in consulting firms happened. And then there was this new wave of consultants who came in who were definitely younger than me. They spoke as well, but then they spoke with global perspective, right? So I had figured out like everything. I thought I had figured out everything Nigeria. And then I now had this young kid. And the difference was they had master's degrees. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, you know what? To be a better consultant, Toni, you need a master's degree. And that's where that decision came in. Yes. So that was the exit from Accenture, and I went to Warwick Business School.
What drew you to the business school where you ended up?
Working in consulting, I had started to do a lot of strategy work. Now, my background was in marketing, but it was not just marketing strategy, corporate, org strategy, talent strategy. And I was looking for a course that could combine marketing and strategy. So I think there were only 2 places that I found the curriculum that did that at the time. And it was Warwick, and I think it was Manchester Business School. Warwick seemed to have just better ratings, and they accepted me.
Were there cultural differences that you experienced?
Oh, absolutely. I think learning in a classroom in England is very different from learning in a classroom in Nigeria. The expectation of you having to put in the time as well, like you study before you come to class. You come to class, like you have debates. That was very, very new. In my uni, it was more, everything was, you were taught in the class, and then you were asked to go back and you had points to read. So this reverse of me taking ownership of my learning, it was a bit of a learning curve for me, I'll be honest. Yes.
Was it case study style as well?
Yes, there was case study styles as well. So it was everything, case studies, working in teams, leading presentations. And prior, I hadn't worked with teams across cultures. So I had classmates from Asia, Europe, Africa still. I think I was the only Nigerian in my class at the time. It was interesting, again, just understanding how people even interpreted problems, right? Because depending on who was answering, the context was always different.
What about the social aspect of business school? I tagged along with my husband when he got his MBA, and there was a dramatic social side, and we were married. So his experience was different than someone with children or someone single.
I don't believe I participated much. I was engaged, and my partner was in Nigeria at the time. So if anything, I spent most of the time studying. I don't think I watched many movies. I learned how to cook. I made a few friends. I realized that there was a strong Nigerian community. It was more one-to-one relationships that I built.
Yeah.
And less of the partying. I missed out on all of that.
What a difference from your college experience.
I know. What the consulting just killed all of the partying.
It killed your fun vibe. What was the recruiting process like?
Funny enough, when I did the master's, I worked with a company that was trying to bring their brand into Africa. I got an offer and it meant I'd have to stay back in England. But because I had this whole wedding planned, I came back to Nigeria. And what I didn't see happening was this was bang in the middle of the financial crisis happened in the UK, in the developed markets, 2008. The
Yep.
aftermath in Nigeria, 2010, 2011. So coming home, there were no jobs. The industries that would have really taken me were all not hiring. And it felt like, why did I go away? Why did I spend all of this money and not find gainful work? I eventually got this job. It was a very, very interesting experience. I remember having to lie to my manager that I had a student loan I was still paying off so that I would just get paid. That's how bad it was.
Wow. Dive into that. So you got a job. When you got the job, did you think you were getting paid and then they just weren't paying you?
Yes. Oh, yes. So at the end, I thought I was going to be getting paid. I got an offer letter that everything seemed like it was going to be okay. And you know how you go to work and then it's the 30th, there's nothing, 31st, nothing, first the next month, second, you're looking at your colleagues, everyone is typing, you're like, what's going on? Anyway.
I can't say I've had that experience. No.
Oh, but apparently it does happen to some. And I go home and I'm like, no, I can't live like this. I just have to figure out a way. And then I go to him, I'm like, I took a loan to go to uni. So, you're just going to have to. And he said, oh, how much do I pay every month? So essentially I was being paid a discount. So I didn't even get paid my entire salary. I got paid a discount. And this happened for maybe 2 odd months. So you wouldn't see that on my resume.
Oh, right. So listen, you can't pay me, I'm out.
I wasn't even going to have it. The thing that was interesting was when I'd now be smiling on payday and how my colleagues would be looking at me like, what did you do? I'm like, I'm getting paid.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
bad. It was bad. Yeah, it was bad.
And so are you still in wedding planning mode during this time or had you already gotten married?
Also, I'd gotten married. It was definitely a pressure early days having to deal with this. So one of the reasons why I didn't go back to Accenture was because I married someone I used to work with there. So he stayed back at Accenture.
And so you're newly married, you are trying to build a life together and you're not getting paid. And
you left an offer, right? I had this offer in the UK that was seemingly quite good. And here I was like, okay, why am I here?
yeah. So how did that show up for you? Physically, mentally, what were you feeling during that time?
I was incredibly stressful. I think that those were some of the worst years. The marriage didn't last very long. I think that probably added to the pressure. Yeah, most likely did. Yeah. So it was very tough because I just couldn't seem to thought prior to leaving Nigeria, I had a career and I came back and I couldn't seem to find anything. The odd thing is, so the job at Etisalat, the year before I applied to the same job. I actually applied to the same job twice.
No.
I got turned down the first year. When I saw it again, I remember saying, look, I can't be out of work forever. I'm going to apply. I want this job. I am made for this job. And the rest is history.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting story.
Yeah.
And so you finally got that job you wanted. Yeah, you were there for over 2.5 years.
Yeah. Yes. So I think the thing is, and it was a good question you asked in the beginning about finding work. I was very fortunate. I don't know that it was very easy for everyone around me. When I had that period of not having work, I felt what everyone else felt. Being fortunate early made me feel like, oh yeah, I wanted the Accenture job. I got it. But then I now had this long period of wait. Yeah. It was tough. It was tough.
You said that the marriage didn't last long. At what point did it not work out? Had you found this job at Etisalat?
It's funny. I think we were still friendly. We hadn't figured things out. We got separated. He was the one who told me about the job the second time that, oh, I know you applied the first time. because there weren't that many strategy jobs, right? And I wanted a
Yeah.
strategy job.
Yeah.
I was very intentional. I've always been very intentional. I want this type of job at this particular time. And he saw it. I think his friend worked there and he's like, oh, I saw this. You might be interested. And I remember seeing it. I'm like, oh, yes, I did it last year. I'm going there again. Yeah. We had split up by the time iterating happened. So everything was really short and we didn't manage to pick things back up.
Mm. I was
Mhm.
curious
No,
if you being gainfully employed brought
Same
things
thing.
up for a bit or whatnot. Do you ever think about that? If you had ended up there right away, would that have made a difference? Do you ever play those scenarios?
I think what I think about a lot is if everything was like, if I had work, because I think work was always so important to me. Like I said in the beginning,
Yeah.
perhaps a lot of the things that were going on in my marriage wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have taken things so personal. It's almost like maybe I was going through this work depression. And so
Yeah.
everything was super escalated. You're just newlyweds.
Wow.
And it was, yeah.
Yeah.
It
Work, happiness or lack thereof in your work can really affect your relationships and how you show up or not show up in your relationship. Not saying that was 100% what happened, but it certainly it plays some sort of role, and you don't realize how different you become when you're not satisfied in your
Absolutely.
vocation. And it can be rough. I've been there for sure. You end up in this role that you had applied for the year prior. You're like, yes, you stay there for 2.5 years. Was it all rainbows and sunshine for the two
So
and a half years?
it was a really good job. I'm not
Yeah.
going to lie. I think I got to travel and the kind of travel that you like, hey? I got to work with really amazing people and I got to do really interesting work. We worked on a music project, the first digital music app at the time. It's a lot of fun things in the period. Yeah, so I loved
So
it.
then now you see I'm teeing you up. Why'd you leave?
It was money. If I'm going to be very honest,
Yeah.
I was in a good job. I enjoyed the job. Perhaps nothing is perfect. Maybe there were one or two things that could have been better at the place. But then I got an offer that I really couldn't refuse at the time. I think the work I was doing exposed me and I got this offer and I was, wow, really? Really?
Yes.
Me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was Nielsen. You got a more
Nielsen.
attractive financial
More-
offer. Yeah.
Yes.
Was it also a title bump as well?
Yes, there was a title bump. The decision swinger for me was what Nielsen was trying to do at the time is they do the research and insights was they were trying to apply a consultative approach to delivering these insights to their partners in Nigeria. So they wanted a strategy consultant to take this data and not just dump it, but literally be having workshops, helping them with planning. So I thought that opportunity was very, very different at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You take on this role and you're there
Yeah.
for 6 months.
Nielsen, I I realized that all the glitters is not gold. So Nielsen is a fantastic, really large organization, and the structure is quite complex. The Nigeria business was operating quite differently from global businesses. I was not hired by the Nigeria office, but I was working in Nigeria. So that automatically meant that the salaries were quite different. So this filtering, it probably is resonating with you, your HR, this filtering to some of the people in the team who were supposed to support me, understandably, made them a bit hostile. Why do I have to bring you up to speed? Now, I didn't have a research background. I had a strategy background. I was coming to do something different. So they had to teach me what they knew for me to do my job effectively. Now, whose responsibility is it to make sure that they're in a position where they want to share with me? Is it mine or is it Nielsen's?
Yeah. There was some resentment like right out the gate between you and your colleagues that sounds like was a little unavoidable.
Yeah, but you know why life is so funny is this is almost 10 years down the line. These same colleagues are my friends today, right? At a small industry, and when someone is, oh, I really shouldn't have been that hostile. I didn't know where you were coming from. You come in and you're speaking all this English, yada, yada. And now we're all good friends and what have you. But the reality was, and I guess that's the reality for many people, if you've been working in a place for a long time and there's some change, oftentimes you don't even realize that hostility is a really long way.
About this time, you're not quite a decade out of uni. I'm curious to check in on how, like, not using today's lens, using the then lens, how you're feeling in terms of your success meter while you're at Nielsen and you're thinking about, okay, I need to do something else. Are you feeling successful?
At Nielsen, the leaders were fantastic. I felt valued. I looked in my account. I was excited at the end of the month, but I wasn't really happy. I wanted to do more. That was probably when I realized that for me, what made me happy at work was being able to have impact. So it wasn't so much about what I earned. It was the change I was actually able to see that I could bring. And I couldn't get past the fact that I had all of these grand ideas. And because this complex platform, I don't understand it. I don't know how to get it to work with me so that I can support these people the way I need to. I couldn't even really feel successful. When I left Nielsen, I took a pay cut. I think it was a third of what I was earning at Nielsen is what I took. Because by that time I was like, you know what? It was important for me to solve problems. And that was it.
Yes. You wanted to feel fulfilled. This is you ending up at Alco Insurance PLC. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And coincidentally working with remember the consultant I met from Accenture while I was in uni?
Uh-huh.
So he was the MD at ICO at the time.
Oh, interesting.
I think I met the head of strategy socially, and he said, oh, they were hiring for the strategy team. And I was like, oh, and he mentioned this gentleman. I was like, oh, I met him. And that's why I ended up in this place.
He inspired my whole career. Yeah.
And the rest they say is history. It felt like home. And it's funny because it's an old school insurance company. It was no tech at the time. They had been coming, they've been almost 100 years in Nigeria. It just gave me the opportunity to learn. I worked with really brilliant people. And every day I was coming and I was solving a problem that almost seemed like a no-brainer, right? But just even sometimes the journey to figuring out, so this was the problem in the first place. It was a fantastic time. I can't even lie.
Would you say this job didn't really have hiccups for you?
Oh, it did. It did. Because I think I felt too much in love. And then eventually I was offered a promotion. And that meant the person who referred me to the job, that was his job.
Oh.
Yeah. I didn't know how to handle the situation at the time. I think I've always been very bad at confrontation and very serious decisions. At that point, I said I wanted to leave, that I didn't want the offer. And they're like, oh, no, take a holiday. Go think about it. If you don't want this department. But by that time, my line manager had heard I was offered his job. It all wasn't managed too well. And I just thought.
So what was the play going to be? You were going to take his job and then what would come of him?
He did have some challenges at the time. I don't know if it was an interim thing, but I don't know that it was very well thought out or organized. And I don't know it was finalized, but it was strange the way the whole thing happened, because I think it was a phone call and people chatting, it getting out, and it was messy. It was messy.
That's awkward.
And it was like, why would I, again, remember I met him socially and he brought me to the business. He's like, why would I bring you in? And I'm like, no, that's not it. I promise.
Generally, though, these things are happening behind closed doors and it's like very swift. It's we're getting rid of him. You're going to take over. It's going to happen on a Tuesday and boom, boom, boom. And then it happens and you're like, sorry. But this was unfolding in real time with awareness on everyone's part. That's so awkward.
It was awkward. It really was. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm not sure what the end goal was going to be. The truth is, I still don't understand it. It was great work. I think the thing was, if anything, I think the play actually, if I think about it, was more maybe empathy for him. I think he'd been doing not so good at work or had personal issues. And rather than an outright exits, maybe I really don't understand what the play was, but it shouldn't have gotten to him before, because I didn't even accept.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you end up staying there, or did you exit at that time?
So I had a 2-month period after he knew that conversation happened. And then I'm in meetings with him and he's very, very hostile. He's sending me really dirty looks. Yeah. I also had to work out my notice period. And that was, that was very, very strange.
The beginning and the end for you at Alco?
Yeah, so that's how I left. Although that's the thing, when I was leaving, I remember the team offering, we could get you another department if this is a problem. Yeah, but like that. I was like, nah, not after this, not after, because someone was actually really hurt in the whole fracas. And so that was it.
Yeah.
And then I joined very briefly. When I left ICO, I met this real estate investor, and probably another turning point in my career. It's not on my resume because it was really short consulting experience. And I always say the way he ran his business, I think this was the first time I was working very closely with a CEO. I saw someone he led with empathy. Like leaving ICO, he had plans, like he needed a strategy consultant to do 1 or 2 things. He put me on his payroll, brought me into the business, and just seeing how, for instance, let me give you a good scenario. Pension in Nigeria is split between the individual and the employer. He would say he will pay all of it. An employee is sick, the healthcare, there's no deductions. There were no tax deductions from staff. He was just like, and it was religious. It just felt like he was selfless and cared about people so much, and his business was growing despite it. So for me, I loved working or meeting someone like this very soon after all of the boardroom, because I saw maybe a gentleman who started his business and built a lot of goodwill just by being a good human being. So it wasn't just boardroom prowess that could make you successful. I saw maybe just being a genuinely good human being had its rewards. And having to witness this firsthand, look at me gassing about this man. He was so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And could you spend some time with him between Alco and Imagine Concept?
Yeah. So I spent 3 months with him, helping him develop a digital strategy for his real estate business and structure his sales team. And when I was done with that, there was a really beautiful opportunity at iConcepts. So iConcepts was a mobile value-added services provider. So it was taking me back to the services I was creating in Etisalat, right? All of those nice digital services that are built on top of the telco network. When I saw that, I was like, oh, wow. And I jumped at the opportunity. I was back to being in love with work. Really stuff, taking it to market, leading teams or inspiring them. Yeah, that was iConcept.
And you did that for about 1.5 years.
Yes, I did. So getting into iConcepts, I think it was a really good time in the industry. Data was just starting to blow up in Nigeria. We were happy. These smartphones were becoming more popular. And we decided that we were going to go beyond SMS subscription services and start to build a product of our own. It was fun times. We won awards for innovation with Etisalat at the time. Yeah, I like every time I think about it, it was really fun times.
Were there any struggles in the work?
Of course there were. You have a way of just trying to keep sunny, right? And you're like, I don't know where were there struggles? Yes, there were struggles. When I joined, there were struggles. So I experienced the same kind of the new girl struggle. Being the team leader, there were about 20 men and everyone was engineers, operators. They were not trying to be supportive. And I think in this particular situation, I was like, okay, you can't run from this one. You've been running. So this particular situation, I figured out how to be the new girl. I figured out how to earn trust from the people I worked with, right? Not demand it. I saw what demanding it looked like, right? And then the minute I focused on earning it, I saw the switch. I had challenges even just believing the stuff I was trying to do. Because like I said, we're moving into data, smartphone, building apps we didn't know would work, apps we didn't know how people would react to. And it was tough, of course. It was tough having to lead. It was the largest team I'd led. Being responsible for revenue was also, I think that was my first time that I had to literally bring revenue to a business. And we grew. It was really, really big. Yeah. Yeah.
And you mentioned a team of men. I don't want to make any assumptions, but I'm curious what the dynamic in Nigeria is like, gender differences. Is there a struggle there as well as what we experience here in the US?
Absolutely. Probably even worse because of culture.
Yeah.
It's something I try not to make it the focus of conversations, but I don't know that I haven't, I don't know. I hope that I'm not imagining the experiences, but I don't believe that. Yeah, I've faced them many times. Gender biases at work in Nigeria. Yeah.
Yeah. And with you being the leader, that has to make it exponentially more difficult.
Yeah. In one particular job I had, this man look at me and says, I have your kind at home. I'm like, what does that mean? What does that even mean? I have your kind. And he goes on to tell me that even your older brother, he's not my mate. And I'm like, oh my Lord, really? This is worse though.
I had a
Yeah.
boss tell me once, you sound like my wife. You said I'm trying to always not focus on the sunny, but I want to give you an accolade here. You took a different mindset of, I'm going to own what I need to own, and I'm going to face the adversity and try to get past the new girl experience. And that made a difference for you. That's
It did.
tough.
It did. And the thing is, that particular job and new girl situation, I always say I love it because many of the people I worked with, the team that I met at the time today, I've worked with them in other places. I've brought them on new jobs. We've had opportunities to do things together. Even iConcepts, I think I worked with them again last year on a separate project. So I think that's where I might have gotten it wrong in the beginning. So being able to not immediately take offense and understand, once you put yourself in the position of where you're joining, okay, I understand why you might be feeling threatened. So rather than do some correcting in public, I wouldn't even, just the minute I started to, okay, new girl, yes, I know that they're giving you some attitude, but if you were them, would you give attitude? And that changed a lot for me. Like, even if you wouldn't give attitude, so you understand that some people are in a very different place in their life at that particular time. So there are so many reasons why a person will be threatened or feel threatened around change, or where there's change.
Why did you leave iConcepts for MTN?
I left iConcepts to start my business. Around the time when I was leading the team, I saw the growth in revenue. I saw what we were able to put together. I thought, okay, maybe this is a good time for me to start my business. Turns out that starting a business is not easy. And turns out that getting customers is even harder, right? And so I remember trudging the streets of Lagos. I'd literally go to meetings, proposals, like dropping proposals, and people are like, I'll call you back. And cashing out my pension and realizing, Toni, maybe it's not time to have a business. I unfortunately fell ill as well. So I think I had about a year between iConcept starting my business, falling ill, and then being down to my last 2,000 naira. What's 2,000 naira in dollars? That's about, oh Lord, that's just about $4. I remember being down to my last $4 and having a phone call from MTN saying, oh, we just accepted. Can you come and pick up your offer letter? Oh, wow. That was like the highlight of my life because I had, so yeah, like literally rock bottom. Yeah.
You are saying that so easily. And I mean, you're like, yeah, rock bottom. But what did that look like for you? $4.
It also, I think that's something that I realized even before coming on this show was maybe I'm a bit impatient, right? And maybe I wanted things to happen, or I've always wanted things to happen very quickly. I had this big dreams. I was going to help businesses do digital different, right? I felt I had enough money saved. I felt I knew enough people. I had gotten a license. I could do it. And while it was tough doing it, like I said, what really knocked the wind out of me was getting ill. I started to understand that there's a little more to life than just work. I had to look after myself. I spent so much trying to get better. All of the plans that I had, I couldn't do nothing because I was trying to get better. And I think it was good. I feel like I've had so many opportunities in life to just sit back and think, okay, in this moment, who are you? And with the call from MTN, I remember thinking to myself, and this is where religion comes in play. I'm like, God has been so fortunate, so kind to me. While I've done stuff, I've gone, I can do this. Yeah, I'm the boss lady. And I've seen that you can't really plan everything out, right? You really can't tell the end from the beginning. There's so many things that can happen along the way that you can never envision. So the reality of it is, be kind to people, live a good life, eat well, sleep well, drink loads of water, try not to fall sick. I joined MTN very soon after. It was really good. I got to manage a lot of strategic projects. And then I got a phone call from my former boss at Itisala, who was supporting me when I was trying to start my business. And now she'd gotten this job in this startup ecosystem. She was talking about San Francisco, about tech, and she's like, you have to join. You just have to. I'm only 5 months. I've been out of work forever. I've been sick. I've tried to build a business. And here I'm just in the biggest technology company in Africa. And now you're telling me to leave. And I remember going to my manager and I'm saying, I just got this offer. I'm not even considering. He's like, why? You better go. Like, this is the time. And I'm like, I've made so many decisions like this. And I've had a period where now I don't want to be making decisions like this. He's like,
you need stability. You've been sick. You ran out of money.
And he just looks at me, he's Toni, I can't tell you that you will get the opportunities that you will get there. This startup industry, this ecosystem, this whole thing is about to blow up. Go and be a part of it. So that was something. This is when I get the head of growth role at Migo. This is when I decide, okay, you know what? You only live to die another day. Yeah, and that was also fun. So I brought one of my colleagues from iConcept to Migo. She's still there now. And built the growth team from ground up. It was going back to all of the stuff that I really enjoyed doing. And that was building stuff, like solving problems, literally being in the hardest stuff, rolling up my sleeves. So it was a fantastic year and a half. And then I fell sick.
Well, you had gotten better.
Yeah.
During your time at MTN. You go to Migo and then you feel sick again. Was it the same thing that you were dealing with, or was it something else that you were dealing with?
It recurred, but this time it was even more complicated. And unfortunately, I fell sick right after I lost my dad. So it was everything just starts happening at the same time in this perfect job. In this, that was really.
I was going to come back to your dad too to ask for how he felt like you had done and found your way. I'm so sorry you lost him.
Thank you. All through, I realize now I look back and all through the movie, and every time I tell him that I have this new offer, I want to do this new thing, and he'd be like, yeah, go, you can do anything. I trust you. He was always like, don't say no, take every offer, experience everything, go do you. And that was helpful. I needed that.
You'd be so proud. Oh, so you lost him, you got sick again at Migo.
Yeah.
And so did you take some time? What happened?
Yeah, I think the thing is, I probably, again, stressed out too much. I worked myself sick again. And I think I had to be out for 2 or 3 months, thereabout. When I got back, and this is probably leading to why I left Migo at the time. When I got back, I had maxed out yet again. Now you're earning so much money, or you feel like you're earning money again. And I'd fallen sick again, lost a lot of money. And I was disappointed because I thought that the company was supposed to provide better health coverage. At least that's the standard
message.
That's the standard. So it didn't take too long after I returned for me to entertain one of the companies I was courting. Because at this time, Migo was doing quite a good job with growing. The business was growing quite rapidly, was getting funding, was in the news. Our efforts as a team was actually showing. So I kept getting approached, and they was really loyal to this business. I remember coming back after being ill and saying, oh, after I gave this business everything, how did I have to go out of pocket for all of these expenses? I moved to a company who was courting me, and they had a product that they wanted to take to market. And I was told that, oh, you know what, it's done. It's just to come and launch this product. Don't worry, everything is ready. And I show up, and of course, nothing was ready. And I had another new girl situation, because it's like, who is this consultant you are bringing that is probably collecting a lot of money, speaking a lot of English? And I now had to deal with that. So much hostility from the first day. I remember the second day calling my boss at Migo. I'd left there in a huff. You guys did not help me with my medical bills. I remember day 2 picking up the phone and saying, can I have my old job back, please?
Were you serious, or were you saying it in jest?
I took her to lunch. I was serious.
What'd she say?
And she's, you need to learn some resilience, because hey, at this point, me and her have worked together 2 or 3 times. And she's Toni, you can't just run at the first sight of trouble. Come on, will you go back there? And let's just say COVID happened 2 weeks into this job. So I had the good fortune of doing it from home and not having to deal with hostility in the office. But needless to say, yeah, I have a really interesting story about that business, because they turned out to be a client.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Of your own business, you're saying?
My own business. Yes, of my own business.
Wow.
So there was a lot of hostility at the office, especially when we're coming face to face. And then COVID happened. I'm working from home. More of this is happening. But by this time, I believe that my employer now believes that for some reason, I'm the agitator. So now I think if we were coming to the office, perhaps things would have played out a bit differently. But I took it upon myself at that point that what if they hired you, Toni, to solve an actual problem that they were struggling with, perhaps rather than focusing on all of the strife, focus on solving that problem.
Yeah.
And it was easier to do this remotely. I'm not even going to lie.
Sure.
It was so easy blocking out the noise. I think this is where the introvert in me really developed, because I just locked everything out. And I'm like, if we need to write a paper to the regulator in a week, I'm banging it out in hours. So my mindset was, I'm just going to give this thing my best so that it's very clear that I'm trying to play with the team, not against the team. I just want us to get the work done.
Yeah.
And it works, because when I told my boss I'm leaving after, oh, please don't go. And I'm like, look, I think right now, I don't want to battle new girl battle anymore. I think it's time to do my business. I can do this for many people and not threaten people. If that makes any sense. I can come in and fix problems and not feel like, oh, who's the new girl? We can do this together. The rest they say is history. I've been loving it. It's 3 years in. I've been loving it.
In running your own business, there's the picture that you painted of what you thought it was going to look like, and there's the reality of what it is. What is the hardest thing that you experience as you think about running your business?
That answer is a bit tough, because it's been a different theme every year. Like one year, just getting clients to pay you on time. And another year, and then the prayer is that we all grow out of that. And then another year is getting the right team. Another year is getting the team to perform. And another year it can just be regulatory. So it really, I think, to be honest, the one consistent thing is just maintaining a high performing team. It's probably the most difficult thing. And of course, living in Nigeria is an extreme sport. That's for sure.
Looking back at your career, what do you see as the low point?
I had periods where I was ill and I had breaks and I was unemployed. But I can't think of a period that I felt lower than a Nielsen. And it's this conversation, I think, that is just bringing it out for me. I had very high expectations of the things I wanted to do and change. And it was low for me. Maybe it was also something I needed to learn, that sometimes you can't, for all the good wishes you have, just not be able to do something, be incapacitated, you meet roadblocks, whatever, stuff can happen. That was a moment for me, having to learn to accept when, I didn't do this, but it's not the end of the world.
If you could go back to your teenage self and share some wisdom, what would you say?
Everything turns out right in the end. You find yourself. You don't have to make that much noise to be noticed. And if you do, that's okay. Just live your truth and be okay with it. Do things that make you happy and be okay with it. Not because you're trying to piss somebody off, not because you're trying to make someone happy, but just do things that make you happy.
I'm going to jump into some rapid fire questions.
Oh, wow. All right, cool. Let's do this.
How do you define success?
I define success as being able to impact as many people and businesses. The more lives you've impacted and changed, that's a successful person, really.
What stands out for you as your dream job as a child?
I wanted to be a pilot, but I think my eyesight wouldn't have ever let that happen. That was, I probably would have been, just playing bumper cars in the air.
What's your path not taken?
I always had an eye for design. In high school, I had my technical drawing board around, and my initials are TD, so everyone called me TD board. I feel like if you ask me, it's just not doing that, not exploring design more is probably, that's my passion, not explored,
What 3 words would you use to describe your career?
I think the first thing would be curious. I've always been very open, I think fortunate, because I got into rooms that oftentimes I felt like, why am I here? And I think another thing has been, I think my career has also been a blessing to my family. Like I said earlier on, my mom is a librarian. She worked to her bone 42 years. And I think it makes my family really happy to see the work that I do for businesses and my team and all of that.
How is stress manifested for you?
I think all of the times I've had issues with my health, it's been my body telling me you're doing too much and just shutting down. It also presents mentally. I didn't realize when I started a business was just how much mental stress or mental energy being an entrepreneur takes. Just how impactful it is on your mental health, the lack of sleep, the anxiety, the deadlines, the responsibilities. I think that's where my stress has, to be honest, shown up the most. It's come out. Like, I thought that I had stress when I had other people's responsibilities. When I inherited them, then I realized the real meaning of stress. And how I've dealt with it is really just simple things. Like I said, eat well, drink loads of water, live in a clean environment, take long walks. Yeah, I think it's working so far. I was telling my mom the other day, since I started my business, I've never been sick. I felt incredibly stressed, but I haven't had a day in a hospital. Unlike when I'd been in the hospital 2 months, 3 months. So I think also stress has presented physically, but running my business has also helped me learn my body even better, because I can now pay attention. I know all the signs. I know when I'm doing too much, and then I can slow it down. So good. Yeah.
What company on your resume do you think turns the most heads?
Depends on who you're asking. I want to say Enterscale.
Love it. I'd like you to take 3 jobs that you've had and label them: love, ultimate fun, and skip it.
I think that's obvious. Love eye concepts. Ultimate fun. Salad. Hate it. We'll leave that one unsaid.
Got it. Thank you so much for sharing your story. This was
Wow.
awesome to learn more about you. And I know many will appreciate what you have had to share today.
I hope so. I hope it touches someone.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Effing Up. I'm your host, Deanne Reiner. If you enjoyed today's episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe on the platform you use to listen to podcasts. Share Effing Up with others, post about it on social media, and/or leave a rating and review. Until next time, count your perceived failures as part of your path to success. After all, we're all effing up.